Hello everyone, I'm Rachel, a Radical Soul Untangled. So, thought it was past due for us to do one of the cycle breaker spreads. And as you can see, I've kind of expanded it a little bit from before. I decided to add this Oracle deck. I just got the other day the Sacred Creators Oracle, which is by Chris Ann, who did what? Our favorite deck, or at least mine, the Light Seers Tarot. So I just got it. I did an unboxing video, so you should go check that out in my deck review section. If you want an idea of the feel for the overall deck, I do a walkthrough and my impressions of it. And I just got such good, strong impressions from a lot of the cards that I didn't even bother going through the booklet yet. And so far I'm not disappointed. So let's get into it. So I'm calling this the cycle breaker spread. So if you've watched my other videos, there's cycle makers and there's cycle breakers, and it looks like we need to try to break out of a cycle. And the energy that we need to break out of is this chariot in reverse, meaning that we're kind of feeling stuck. Because in the upright, the chariot is usually depicted as being drawn by two animals, where one is light and one is dark. That represents, many aspects. That can represent our yin and our yang energy, which is the feminine energy, the masculine energy. Also can represent our shadow aspect and our light aspect, and that these forces, one doesn't need to be dominated. They need to be able to work together in tandem in order to get real momentum for the chariot. And so sometimes what happens is that if you're not familiar, yin energy, feminine energy, it doesn't have to do with, your gender identification at all. What it means is the yin, which is depicted as dark, is the feminine energy in the sense that it is pure creative potential. It's a lot of potential energy. This is more kinetic energy, the yang energy. So yin is potential energy. It's being in your body. It's listening to your bodily cues when you have, a gut feeling about something and trusting that, being able to tell when you're not feeling well. When you start to trust your body, you listen to your intuition in that way. And the yang energy is the kinetic energy. It's the masculine energy. It's the doer. It's the and then a good analogy is for yin. Think of that as the clay, and the yang energy is the desire to sculpt and mold the clay. The clay has all this potential in it, but it's the mind and the effort of the sculptor to put that clay into form. And so you have to have a balance of these two. And what happens is these get out of alignment and we're stuck because in our society, especially in the United States, we've kind of suppressed this yang energy. We're told not to listen to our bodies when we're sick. Just take a pill, just push through it. We're taught to only think if it doesn't make sense with our rational mind. If we can't logic it into to make sense, or if it's not convenient, then we just ignore it. And I like this chariot because the person they're not the driver, and they're not the passenger exactly either. They're not sitting inside comfortably, passively on this ride. He's got this energy about him, like he's gonna jump off when he's ready, and he's looking out ahead. So this shows a real connection with the divine, where you are out there looking for signs and synchronicities, and to tell you, to give you the prompts, to give you the pings that you pick up bodily, and then you take the action to move or redirect. So that's why I think that's a very interesting depiction of the chariot. And you're not necessarily in charge either. You're just following these energies. These energies are like the elements of your soul. And when they're in balance, this person is trusting their soul, and so that doesn't mean they're gonna jump off and die, but that they're gonna jump off, when they get the right prompts. So they're really they're really along the ride with the horses. I hope that makes sense. But in the reverse, that means it's stuck. So that means if you're dealing with anxiety, oh, this just came to me. Wow. If you're dealing with anxiety, you are probably mostly stuck in the yang energy. You're stuck so much in your thoughts and in your own head that you're constantly worst case scenarioing it. That's not really a word. You're constantly thinking of the worst case scenario. You're constantly defeating yourself. And so you never go anywhere because you are so good at seeing the risks in everything, which can be helpful, but it's also incredibly hindering because the mindset of recognizing a problem is totally different than the mindset of solving a problem. You need to be able to get into your yang energy or yin energy, your feminine energy, and work, you need to get in touch with your body more and listen for those, gut feelings. You're so much in your head, you ignore when you have a gut feeling. You think, oh, I have an upset stomach. I don't know why. I must have been something I ate. No, it wasn't necessarily something you ate. It's your body trying to tell you that something's not right for you, or even just trying to tell you, stop thinking this way. For God's sake, you're making us sick. Just relax. Just get off this never-ending cycle of constant worry. That's why your body feels, sick when you're worrying yourself about things unnecessarily. And if you have depression, like I said, wow, this really just came to me as I flipped this card back upside down. If you're dealing with depression, you're probably you're stuck too much in your yin energy, in your bodily energy. You're stuck too much in your feelings, in your bodily and emotional feelings, to the point where you're not, engaging your head as much to say, oh yeah, but here's how things worked out, or here's how things are actually pretty good for us. Yeah, wow, that just came to me. Sorry. So I'm still kind of processing that. Because I also have heard that depression is living too much in the past, and anxiety is living too much in the future, anticipating too much in the future, and you're not living in the present. So balancing these two energies puts you in the present. So basically, long story short, this card is telling me you're feeling very stuck, and chances are you have some elements of depression and anxiety, which are leading to this stuck energy. So I did the 4 cards that kind of give us an idea, and since they're almost all in reverse, it seems to be telling me, like, here's what's keeping you stuck. And instead of drawing more tarot cards or a different deck, I decided to use this Sacred Oracle deck to give us some ideas of how to move through that then. So this is telling you the why, and then this is kind of like the how to move out of it. This is telling you why we're stuck, and this is saying how we can start to move in the right direction so we can get ourselves unstuck, so we can free that chariot energy, so we can get that momentum going in our lives again. So we have the Queen of Pentacles, but she's in the reverse. So, Queen of Pentacles is just material abundance and confidence, somebody who follows her intuition to get what she wants and needs in life. And so in the reverse, it can be kind of a smothering energy. It can be even kind of a managing energy where you feel like, well, if I don't keep an eye on what everyone else is doing and make sure everyone else is doing the right thing, then everything goes to shit. But really, it's that micromanaging people don't fail to realize is that it's because of their constant supervision and because of their specific expectations and demands of others that keep people second guessing themselves and keep people not trusting their own drive and instincts of how to do things because they're so caught up now in trying to please the micromanaging person. And also it just means you're kind of like, you're feeling a lot of insecurity. You're kind of overly preoccupied with your lack of resources. You're worried about money. You're worried about maybe not having enough education. You're worried about not getting a promotion in your job, or that maybe you want to try for a promotion, but you don't know how to make a case for yourself. So you've managed to convince yourself it's just better not to even try to go for it. And so, excuse me, a little sip there. And so we need to kind of get out of this mindset of being overly preoccupied with lack, because it ends up becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're so worried that you don't have enough that you kind of keep yourself from taking risks to get more of what you need. And we have another energy is the Four of Swords. Four of Swords comes right after Three of Swords, which, if you recall, that's the card that's kind of famous for being heartbreak, betrayal, extreme disappointment, like things like that. So the Four of Swords is that, I take it to be that kind of reflective time after such heartache or breakup. It doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic breakup. Maybe you just decided that, you need to go no contact with someone. But it can also mean like you got fired recently. Three of Swords can be like you got fired, or something just, really hard that hits you emotionally, that makes you feel like, I thought everything was great and now look. And it's a very triggered pain. So Four of Swords, I take that to be the recovery period after that, where maybe at first you feel kind of burned out. You're not crying anymore, not because you're over it, but because you're exhausted yourself from crying so much. And so we have a heart here. So a small heart. So the Three of Swords is usually three swords run through a heart. Here we have a small heart. So it's kind of like she's kind of nurturing that desire for the heart to love again. So it feels kind of shrunken and small because it's been wounded or feels like it's been cut to pieces. But it's just really shrunken and small right now. But she's just resting. She's taking the time to relax, to rest, and reflect on things, and regain her energy, and feed her heart again. She's in this nest. So you might this kind of reflects a feeling of just wanting to stay in your room all day, or stay on the couch all day under blankets, and just initially numb out. This is kind of like a numbing out energy that soon leads to a reflective energy. I feel like this is kind of like pre-hermit energy, where hermit is the card of seclusion, to reflect on things and for spiritual growth and insight. And this is kind of like the card leading up to that, and for me. So you've probably had a very big, huge, massive disappointment fairly recently, and you feel like you can't quite get over it. So this is the energy of just taking it very easy, letting yourself rest, letting yourself recuperate. This is a very yin energy. This is very much getting back in connection with your body, and for that recovery, and just kind of letting your mind even go blank at times. Don't ruminate about the what ifs, or how it could have been differently, or why it wasn't supposed to be this way. Just kind of relax and reconnect with your body kind of energy there. And then we have Six of Cups, but again, in the reverse. And Six of Cups is the nostalgia card. We have this man, his dog, and it looks like those are memories of him as a child with his puppy. And so usually this is a reflective energy of like reflecting old memories to give you a feel good feeling, like, oh, that was great, you know, where you're not so where you're kind of, it's a wistful energy, and it kind of helps sustain you maybe in a challenging time. But in the reverse, this can be very much a ruminating energy. So by that I mean, it could be that you're thinking, things used to be so great, why is it all so wrong now? Things were going so well, why did it go like this? And I wish it was still like this. I wish it was still this way. I wish it was still this way. I wish it was still this way. I wish it was still happy times. And that ends up kind of reminding you that you're not in happy times and that you are unhappy. And it kind of reinforces this feeling that those times are gone and never coming back. And while those specific times are never coming back, those specific events and things are never fully coming back, they'll be new again in the future when they do happen, and you will have those feelings again. And you can even work on having those feelings now, even when you're in this Four of Swords energy. It can also be a resentment kind of energy too. It can be, well, it used to be so great, but now he's not like that anymore. Now they're not like that. Now they don't treat me like they used to. Now it's they treat me differently, so it's their problem, them. If this is about like maybe a relationship, or you're focused more on the negativity, the current negativity, and you're using the happy memories to actually feed the resentment. So again, that's another energy that we need to kind of look out for. That this contributes to that feeling of stuckness. And because you're so busy maybe focusing on what that other person is doing differently or doing wrong, and you're not reflecting on how you've been responding to them or how you may have changed to contribute to that dynamic. And then we have the Emperor in reverse as well. So the Emperor is is the epitome of like that 1950s perfect dad. That's a good provider, and not just of material abundance, but also like wisdom. So a wise, protective, paternal figure. In the reverse, this could either mean that you have some, I'll say, quote unquote, daddy issues. You have a lot of pain around your relationship with your father, where he was maybe, especially if this father was a very strict father, or very religious or controlling father, a very domineering figure. This could also mean that kind of like systems around you, you're feeling very oppressed. This is a feeling of being oppressed by a greater oppressive force outside yourself. So if you're thinking, well, I can't get ahead because all these systems are set up against me, well, you're not necessarily wrong. But there are ways to, I don't even want to say work around it or to push through it or to bring it down, but the more you reinforce that belief, the more true it is. Again, you're limiting yourself. You're limiting your thinking if you're thinking too much about, well, this won't work for me because everything is sabotaging me. And so you kind of just give up, right? Or you just feel kind of this crushed feeling. So yeah, so this could either be, and it could be a combination of the two, where this feeling like, or at work perhaps, or in your environment, there's just some kind of just this oppressive feeling. A lot of external control over your life, making you feel as though you have no control over yourself. All right, so yeah, I take these as all energies that contribute to this chariot in reverse energy, this really stuck in the mud, mired feeling. this over focus on materials that you don't have. So over focus on not having enough or not having what you deserve, and maybe also a degree of micromanaging or being smothering to others because you feel so stagnant. You might even be bringing others around you, maybe in your household, to a feeling of stagnancy as well. Maybe they're like, hey, maybe I want to do this thing. And you're like, no, that's not going to work. That's never going to work for you. No, don't try. Or maybe anytime you have what feels like a good idea, you instantly squash it within yourself. No, that's not going to work. But you also have this need to rest. You have probably been through a lot recently, or maybe, I mean, just for how things have been, a lot of people are very stuck in this, I need to recover, because this pandemic has forced us to really go within and reflect on how things are, how they are, and how they've been affecting us now that we've had to stop to some extent and then start over again. Definitely in the States, it's like we had a pause and then we just were like, I think it's fine now. Yeah, it's fine. Go ahead. And this makes a lot of people have just shut down because it's just now that momentum was broken, they were able to reflect on it. And now that they're forced to kind of start back up again, they're realizing just how intolerable that condition is. But again, this is before the hermit kind of energy. So this is still just a binging Netflix and sitting on the couch and being just warm and cozy and kind to yourself and nurturing yourself, but not very productive, which again is fine. We just can't stay in that energy for too long. But that's part of why we feel so stuck. We also feel stuck because we're probably focused on the past, the happy aspects of the past, and feeling like they're never going to come back, not trusting that they'll come back. Or we're using as a base of comparison to hold resentments against others or even ourselves. Say, well, I used to be able to do this. Well, I used to get exercise more, and now I don't, and I'm just a big fat slob now, and I hate that I'm like this. That energy that we resent ourselves because of what we know that we were once capable of, but we're not doing it now. We end up holding that against ourselves too. Or maybe again, if this is more of a relationship, you're thinking more of how great it was in the beginning and how now it's kind of stagnant, and you're focused on how the other person has changed and how they treat you, and you're not spending enough time reflecting on what part of how you've contributed to it. Not that you deserve it if you're being mistreated or you're not liking how you're being treated, but you might not have the boundaries you need. And we have the Emperor in reverse, saying that you probably feel oppressed externally by external forces. You feel that you're either remembering a father figure from the past that was very strict and that you felt very constricted by, you felt very limited by, and you felt very afraid of. Or you're also thinking of the limitations that the systems have been put upon us in a way where you feel like why even try? Why even try? If I'm not already a millionaire, I'll never, if I'm not already rich, I'll just get poorer and poorer. So a very kind of discouraged and oppressed energy here. So these are all why you feel stuck. But now we're going to the Sacred Creators Oracle deck to get us an idea of how we can move through these energies, not bypass them, but accept where we are now. This is all to help you accept where you are now and reflect as to why you're there now. What got you there, and now understand it, and now move through it. And so we have befriend the word polarize. I like this card. I really liked this. I pointed this one out when I was doing the walkthrough. And to me, befriend the word polarize means that don't see contrast as an inherently bad or unpleasant thing. you can see contrast as giving you a sense of clarity of what you do want and what you don't want for yourself. And also, so this isn't just the, oh, respect everybody's differences. But no, just that we actually do need these differences in order to get a better understanding of who we are. And we also have the masculine and the feminine energy, so you have to befriend the idea, the understanding that you have a potential energy within you and a kinetic energy with you. You have this creative potential and this creative force, desire within you. You have this bodily energy and you have this cerebral energy that makes your body move. And so polarize, you have to have balance too. Polarize also implies a sense of balance. We think how it's used in our society, like, oh, we have such a polarized political system. Oh, we have such polarized political opinions. We have such polarized belief systems. And just see that as this contrast is just expanding our understanding of ourselves as we kind of move through the world. And we go like, oh, that's like the worst case scenario. Well, let me redirect towards this. Here's the best case scenario. Okay, let me move towards that. I want more of that. I want to move away from this. And every time you make these conscious shifts, instead of playing, that's the other thing, especially in American media, for a long time, it's starting to shift away from this. It's been shifting away, but definitely during the Bush era, there was this, I'm going to call it toxic neutrality, where neutrality was this wishy-washiness that was just like, and sometimes we still have it, in our media, where it's like, well, this person said this and this person said that, so the truth is smack in the middle. No, not always. Sometimes yes, but not necessarily. You get to choose which pole you want to move towards. You want to move towards the light, and it doesn't mean though you shun the shadow or you deny it exists or you seek to destroy it. You still have to have an understanding of the other pole. So just because you want to move towards pole A doesn't mean that the existence of pole B is inherently a bad thing. It's just that we want maybe to move more towards A and not focus so much attention on B, and then we'll get a new B, because then the poles will shift in a different degree. Sorry, this is just coming to me too now. So eventually that B side will fade away just by not paying enough attention to it. It'll just drift away in the ether, and then we'll find a new B. Does that make sense? I hope so. But there will always be a polarization, and that is absolutely necessary for growth, not just in a spiritual way, but just any way, right? I hope that makes sense. And then we have feed your artist. I like how that kind of came out with this one under here. This, so in this time that you are recuperating, this is a recuperative energy too. I don't think I said that yet. But as you're recuperating from whatever challenges you've faced recently, feed your artist. Now, that doesn't mean force yourself to start creating things, telling yourself, well, I have all this time now. I have all this downtime. I should be painting more. I should be writing more. I should be, knitting more. I should be creating more, but I'm not, because I'm so don't do that. Don't use should. You can't feed your artist or any other positive aspect of yourself by shoulding all over yourself, right? Because you're literally giving yourself shit, and not in a good fertilizer sense. In a way that literally makes you sick. So feed your artist means that you use this recuperative energy constructively. You say, I am going through this for now so that I can recuperate and I can eventually move through this. You don't, what we tend to do is stay stuck in this energy almost indefinitely until something externally improves and shakes us out of this. But we need to start feeding our artist. I take it to mean conscientiously see this time for recuperation for what it is. You know, like if you were in, after a surgery, say if you've had surgery before, there's a time that you have to recuperate where you have to stay off, you know, limit your actions and stay off of whatever part of you was just operated on. You have to watch what you eat. You have to do this. But you don't want to stay like that forever, right? You don't want to stay like that indefinitely until your body's just completely pain-free after the surgery. You want to slowly and steadily start strengthening yourself, not by just going right back into the patterns that you used to do after, you know, 2 or 3 days of convalescence. No, you want to start moving towards that, not so much incrementally, but just steadily, you know, regain your strength, regain your confidence. So feeding your artist about regaining a sense of confidence so that you can, so that creative energy will start to flow again. So you might say like, okay, I'm just going to do Netflix in the blanket, pet my dog, and that's what I'm going to focus on. And that will give me some comfort. And then I will, as I do that, I will feel comforted. I'll feel better. And you know what? Maybe I'll start looking at, maybe I'll organize my art supplies. Maybe I'll just look through them. Maybe I'll flip through Pinterest and get some creative idea energies and make a little notes of which ones I really like to, you know, that to copy, and just slowly start moving in that direction. No, maybe I'll actually do a little writing today. Maybe I'll do a little drawing today, a little doodle. So just this feeding that energy, using this time of recuperation, of convalescence, constructively, and easing your way into being your creative self, your creative potential. Because even if you're like, well, I'm not an artist, well, you definitely are creative in some way. So just reflect on that. And then we have the You Are Magic. And if you saw my flip through for this deck, I noticed that the first 21 cards actually are the major arcana. So this is the Magician card. See, it even says 01. You are magic. So this is to remind you. So this is basically like, I'm going to say drawing like a magician card. The magician, the key to the magician is that that person is this master manifester because they understand that the resources they need are around them always. They just have to be aware of them and how to use them at a given moment. So, and by the resources, I kind of mean like the think of the 4 elements that the suits, the tarot suits embody. So we have the swords for mental energy. We have cups for emotional, pentacles for the physical realm, and wands for the fire, for the, you know, creative, for the just the innate drive and desire to do anything. And so yes, so this is basically to me the Magician card, reminding you though that you have a lot of creative potential within you. You might just have to hang it back and nurture it though, actively, and to remind yourself, yeah, I am magic. Yeah, remember when this, so, and use those kind of memories in a good way. Yeah, remember when I was able to do this, when I was capable of this and this and this? Yeah. Don't say, well, I need to be able to do that again to be happy. Just say like, there's still a lot of that potential in me. In fact, there's probably even more potential in me now than there was before. When I first did that, it was just because I was youthful and more vital back then. But now I have a lot more wisdom. I have a lot more experience. And I can maybe tweak that. You know, so maybe you don't try to be the exact same person you once were, because that's impossible and a frustrating endeavor. But think of ways that you can, say, alchemize your life, transmute these energies. That's your magic. when you can start to turn things around, when you start to flip these cards, when you start to go, hey, I am the Queen of Pentacles. I actually have a lot of things going well for me, and a lot of good fortune comes to me. You start to alchemize this energy instead of just ruminating on the pain that you've experienced, going, I just need some time to reflect and to recuperate, but I don't have to be here forever. And again, we start to reflect on positive emotions, positive memories that help feed positive emotion. And I think, wow, that was really great. That was really great when it was like that. Yeah, I'd like to get back to something similar to that, but new and more exciting and even better. That would suit me better now, now that I'm more mature. And then we want to feel this empowered energy. We want to internalize this emperor, not feel like there is this external control oppressing us. We want to build this internal sense of control, of this sense of mastery, of this sense of benevolent paternal feelings, this benevolent protector, this benevolent provider. That's ultimately what that's very, thoughtful, so he's holding the king chess piece there. Oh, and he's sitting on Mars. So the planet of war, but he's sitting on it. He's not in a warlike energy. He's not seeking conflict. He's in charge of it's kind of like he knows how to use anger or conflict in a constructive way, in a protective way, or in a constructive way to bring about positive changes. So he's just sitting on that Mars energy and he's sitting on it confidently, relaxed. And he's not looking at us. He's looking off to the side, but it's still like a forward look. Like he's thinking of new ideas. I like this energy like streaming into his head, like that he's in contact with the divine. He's not caught up in his ego. This is not a powerful male caught up in his ego, trying to get people to do what he wants. This is a male that's really looking for, this is a masculine energy. This is a masculine energy that you can have in yourself or see in others that is protective and in contact with the divine. So wants the benefit for the most people and to protect that. And he has also the Ankh, so a symbol of life, not of oppression, not of death, but of life. And I like that this card came out underneath that one, Changemaker, make waves. And I said this when I did my review, that I thought it was interesting. I was like, why is there that comma there? Well, shouldn't it just say changemakers make waves or changemaker makes waves? Shouldn't it be that? Shouldn't it be changemakers make waves? And I thought, well, that kind of that can alienate the person. If they're not feeling that in themselves, that they're a changemaker, they'll be like, well, changemakers make waves. I don't like to make waves. I don't like conflict. So I guess I'm not a changemaker. But by adding that comma and it makes it like an imperative, changemaker, make waves. It's more of a reminder of who you are. We're all change makers when we want to be or when we need to be. We all have that potential. We just don't always see it because, like I said, we get caught in this fear of conflict or we feel this oppression constantly. And so we don't want to make waves because we've maybe had abusive or just a very strict parent that whenever we made any kind of waves, they squashed that in us. So this is a reminder of what we are at our cores, what all of us are at our cores, but especially you. You are a change maker, and it is upon you to make waves or else nothing changes. So it's just such a subtle little thing, but it really hit me. So this is speaking directly to you. This is something you can't just turn away from and go, well, I'm not a change maker. Because if I said change makers make waves, well, you just say, I don't like making waves, so I guess I'm not a change maker. I guess that this card doesn't apply to me. It applies to every one of us, but especially you at this moment. And it's reminding yourself that you are this powerful agent for change. But change can be uncomfortable. People aren't going to necessarily like it. They're not going to want to necessarily support you. Some of them. Some will. The right people will. Even if they feel uncomfortable, they will still support it. So this is just reminding you, it's imperative upon you to make waves, to not be so stuck in this this recuperative energy that you don't get going again. This is to remind you to get things going again. You have to make waves. That's what makes you unstuck. You can't just wait for things to start feeling, your circumstances to feel better around you in order to get the momentum going in your life. Because if you stay in this stuck energy for too long, you start to distrust anytime things do start to go good. Because you're going, well, it might be good for a little bit, but I'll just end up back where I started. And so why even bother getting out of here? So recognize that kind of thinking in you, that kind of impulse in yourself when that comes up. But if we get all of these flipped, start seeing the light aspect of it. So these came out all in the reverse, except for this one. But these came out all in the reverse. You know, that's just showing me that we're dealing this, and this came out in the reverse. This is all shadow work that needs to be done, that needs to be reflected on. And here are just some reminders of the power that you have, of your responsibility to yourself and to others, of being a change maker, to feed your creative potential, and to not be so caught up in the fact that there are differences, polarities in the world, that we need to abolish one in order for the other to thrive. No. Just turn your attention away from one, and the other one will start to, and turn your attention towards the one you want to thrive, and it will start to flourish. So, whew, okay. Anyway, I don't want to repeat myself too many times, so I hope you found this reading helpful. If you like it, please give it a like, subscribe to my channel if you like the feeling of my readings, and also I have an Instagram at Radical Soul Entangled, also on Facebook I have a page, and just give me any feedback that you have. Let me know how this resonates with you. Share if you like. Any feedback really helps, because I'm really trying to hone this skill to help others. So thank you so much for your time and attention. I really appreciate it. I'm Rachel, a Radical Soul Entangled. Take care.